It's already 11:05. Can you ask everyone to join quickly?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start the class, and I think as and then they join, we can admit. Can you see the screen? Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So last week we have finished about the stock valuation. Okay. So today we need to discuss about the bond return. Right. We have heard about various terminologies like bond, interest rate, default risk, and many other details we have gone through. We'll just check what is bond and how it is significant from the stock, and why people has got a certain affinity towards bond when they don't want to invest in stocks. So let's go by one. I'll just tell you the cognitive behavior of an investor. Normally we have come across the different types of investors, where some are risk averse, and some like risk, and some take a moderate risk, and depending on the principles that they invest and the return they are expecting it. Okay, so there is one Mr. X, and is not in favor of an equity investments, because we all know that there is a increased volatility when it comes to an equity prices. So he believes debt instruments are always safe compared to an equity stocks. And there is another stockbroker called Mr. Varun. So he tells him the debt instruments also have certain features, certain risk features, and you cannot say that it is completely zero risk, right? And he tells Mr. X that there is a maturity period, and there is a duration, and the maturity period and the duration are completely different. So this Mr. X is confused. So far, he has been thinking that bonds are safe, and now since stockbroker is telling that way, he is literally confused. And he is a passive investor, because the one who is investing through someone, he is a passive investor. He is not an active investor, and he is confused and he is worried. So he actually wants to know what the risk associated with bonds, right? That's why we are going to extensively read about the bond return, and how the bonds are valuated, and what is meant by duration, and what are the strategies with as far as this bond valuations are considered. So by this class, right, what would be the learning objective? You would learn to comprehend what is the risk associated with bonds, and how do we calculate the risk to that is yield to maturity, and how do we assess the duration of the bonds, and how do we choose the suitable investment strategies, right? So these are all what would be the learning objective from this class, right? So since when we come to know about all these risk association, yield maturity, duration, we can give a solid answer to Mr. X questions, whether the interest rate risk and default risk are the most significant risk in bond portfolio. Like how we have a stock portfolio, we also have a bond portfolio, and the duration is different from maturity period. Okay, and we are going to see all this one by one, and we will learn about all these concepts of duration. And for a passive investor, there is a there is a passive buy and hold strategy, or we can say there is a quasi passive strategy. Quasi passive strategy means where he also suggests certain bonds or certain equities when it is done by the stockbroker also. 100% the stockbroker would not decide on all that, and even as an investor I can take my call and I can advise him or I can request him. So he must select. So if he is going to be a quasi passive strategy, so he must select a technique that will best suit him. So debt instruments, we call all investments in this bonds, right? We call them all debt instruments. They are cherished by the investors money. They always like how they have been chosen, how they have been invested, and there is an assured return and there is a high interest rate. So they say that why people prefer bonds majorly because of the high interest rate and the assured return, right? So because of these preferences given by the investors on the bonds, there are certain bank which lends highest interest for the companies, where they look out for cheap sources of funds when there is more interest rates are charged. Because sometimes when see, if you are a borrower, if you are investor, it is fine. If you are a borrower of money, and if there is an high interest rate by the banks, right? So that makes the right, that makes the borrowing very unattractive. So in that is the case, there are opportunities given to these companies where with a moderate interest rate they can raise money from outside, right? So this is how the impetus to the corporate bond markets, right? When bank interest rates have been very costly, when they are looking out for the cheap interest rates, so this is how the birth of the corporate bond market has taken place. And there was one state-owned rural electrification corporations, right? REC. So they raised actually 3,500 crores and 4,200 crores on selling bonds, where they had a maturity period of 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. They were on an average they were giving the bond rate, percentage 9.43%, 9.45%, and 9.48%. So these are all the different percentage of interest rates that they were providing on the bonds. So what we must understand, whether you take infrastructure development finance or Indian overseas banks, they were all very successful issuing these bonds at a very nominal interest rate for the people to buy from them. So that was one way of one way of raising funds, right? And what are the bond basics? So we have been discussing about bond and interest rate and default risk rate. So we must basically understand what these bonds are, right? So we can say bond is a contract, right? So it's a contract means there are parties involved in it. So there are two parties. When we say there's one party would be selling, the other party would be buying. There are obligations, there are commitments, and there are certain legal bound between them, right? So a bond is a contract where that requires a borrower to pay an interest income to a lender, right? So it resembles a promissory note. So what is a promissory note? Again, a negotiable instrument where there is a commitment to pay the payment, right? And it is issued by governments as well as by the corporations. So we can say the par value of the bond. What do you mean by the par value? The par value is nothing but the face value of the bond. We say, right, face value, where we are dividing the any investments, whether it is a stock investment or it's a equity, I mean it's an equity investment or the bond investments, we actually divide them into a face value. The face value is actually making them as units for the easy calculations. So where we call this face value is a value stated on the bond paper. Normally for the bonds, the face value are always given at a higher end. There are even bonds where you have a face value of 10,000, 25,000 also. right? So 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. So there are different denominations given to a different bond face values. So most bonds normally they provide a fixed interest payments till the maturity period, as you have mentioned in the bond paper. So there is a specific rate of interest. So if there is a specific rate of interest, we also call that as the coupon rate. So what is coupon rate? So I'll just type here. So there is one term I said, coupon rate. So what is coupon rate? Coupon rate is nothing but there is a specific interest rate on that particular bond. We call that as the coupon rate. So coupon rate, coupons are paid quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. So it is at the end of the maturity period, the value is totally repaid. So now I told you about what are all the basics of the bond. I told you what is actually a bond. It's a contract and there are parties involved. There is a borrower, there is a lender, and how exactly it looks like, and there is a face value, and what is a specific interest rate, and what is coupon rate. These are all the basics that you must understand when it comes to a bond, right? Guys, you are able to follow this? Are you clear what is bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
Doubt, ma'am. What is the price of IPO and face value? Difference between the IPO.
are you talking to me? There's someone talking to me.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm saying that
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
what is the difference between the IPO and the face value?
What is the difference between
IPO for IPO, ma'am. IPO and the face value.
IPO?
Yeah,
IPO is the initial public offering.
yeah, ma'am.
Okay.
Face value.
IPO, face value is different. Okay. See, IPO is when you are entering into the market for the first time. The stockbroker or the merchant banker, they run the book value, right? That's called book running. The book building process, they say. The market fixes the price. Okay. They run the book for certain period, right? As mentioned in the prospectus and as per the SEBI guidelines, they run the book. So there is a roof price, there is a floor price. We call that as the pricing bond, right? That actually tells the uh, we can say that that is the price bond. We can say there is a roof and there is a floor, and between these the ranges, what are the prices? Okay, so they build the prices, the market quotes the price. All the investors seeing the company reputation and the prospect of the company, when the company has got a good prospect to grow well, and they think that the company could be a blue chip company, then the prices of those IPO will be very high. So the market fixes the price. Right, the Reliance, when they came for IPO in 2007, the price was quoted very high by the market. They made a they ran a very successful IPO. So that is when you are entering into a market, right? Face value is actually, we can say, see, it is a calculation. You can give at per unit as 10 rupee, right? So you are making it as units. Say, for example, you have 10,000 equity shares, right? So 10,000 equity shares at a different denominations invested by many people. So when you are declaring dividend, how do you declare dividend? How are you going to give the value to everybody, right? In such cases, we divide them into an equal value. So I say that, see, it depends on the company. The face value can be 100, the face value can be 10. So uniformly, most of them, when it comes to an equity shares, they take the face value as a 10. So if there are if my total equity share, my total equity share value is 10, say for example 10 lakh, right? If I make that 10 rupee as a face value, my 10 lakh will become 1 lakh. So there are 1 lakh shareholders in my company. So for example, you would have invested in my company 10,000. I would have invested some 2,000. So 10,000 and 2,000 are not the same. So when you divide that into units, so 10,000 would become a 1,000 shares, and 2,000 will become a 200 shares. So to convert that into a number of shares, or you can call that as units, right? To convert that into a units, we consider the face value, right? So the face value is also the way how companies fixes the percentage of dividend. On the face value, they say 200 percentage of dividend, right? To a 300 percentage of dividend they fix. So how do they calculate the total value of the dividend value that's converted into face value? So one share, okay, one share is 10 rupee. Assume that one share is 10 rupee. So if the company is coming forward for 300 percentage dividend on that one unit, so 100% means that person will get 10 rupee as a 10 rupee as a dividend per share. And if they say 200% dividend, so he will get one share 20 rupees. 300 means he will get one share 30 rupees. Like that, it is get converted. So if I hold 200 shares in that company, if the company is coming with 300 rupees as a 300% as a dividend, so one share I will get 30 rupees. So 200 share, how much I will have? 6,000 rupees I will have. My dividend will be 6,000 rupees. So this is, so we are converting into a value, right? Value on the total value per unit. What is the value of per unit? So that is for the easy calculations. Okay, so that is face value. But IPO is different, face value is different. You got it?
Yeah, actually, we can able to get what was the how many public
No,
people.
can you come out clearly, because your voice is not clear.
Yeah, ma'am, from the side of if they share the public, if they share to the public means the company knows the demand of how many people are acquiring the shares or something like that. People will acquire. Uh, Either they will be having the calculation regarding that based upon the demand is over in the market. I am asking.
No, you're talking about the face value or
Yeah, face value. No, ma'am, I am asking that whether the demand.
no, no, it is nothing got to do with the demand. It has nothing got to do with the demand. It is just a face value where see, it is actually when you create the prospectus itself, you can choose your face value. Right? Normally, the general practice people go for 10 rupee face value.
Okay,
10
all,
rupees face value, and see, it is whatever the total money, there is the difference. See, the value of the money will not change. Okay, if it is a 10 lakh, if 10 lakh is the share amount, the 10 lakh remains the same with the company, right? Whether what is per unit of a share value, it may be 100 or 10 rupee. So that, what is the maximum practice? Because some markets, they even have 100 rupees face value. But even when you say 100 rupees face value, your person is invested 1000, 10,000 is the value, then it becomes only 100 shares. If it is 10 rupee, it becomes 1000 shares. That is all. The now it is just a unit value, that's all.
okay, ma'am.
It has got nothing to do with the market value. It is just a face value.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so
Okay.
it has got nothing, because if you can say 1,000 rupees face value, market doesn't give anything. Market only sees the prospect of the company and buys the shares. In what we study, see that we talk about the current market price, right? Market price, what is the image of the company in the market, and what is that market believes and have got faith on you, your price goes high in the market. It has got nothing to do with the face value. Okay, face value is the easy way of calculating your number of shares. Okay, number of shares on the total capital, equity capital, right?
Okay. I thought that if the face value is too high, then the share is
No,
also good.
no, it has no, it has got nothing to do with the market value. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
okay, right. So now we'll discuss about the bond risk. So generally, stocks are considered to be very risky, right? Stocks, we know that subject to market risk, and sometimes market behaves very sensitive, and the bonds are not like that. We know that bonds are invested for a particular period of the time, maybe 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. So once you have invested, you have to wait till the maturity period, and whatever the present value of the money that you have invested, for the future value is what we calculate. So the stock risk and the bond risk are completely different. And but that bonds also carry irrespective of these the bonds also carry certain risk, and the nature and the type of risk are completely different when it comes to stocks. So they are called they are we can say that the risk associated with bonds or interest rate, default risk, marketability, and the callability risk. So I'll tell you what are the risks. So number one, you can say the bond risk. When it comes to a risk, we can say the bonds would have right. Number one, we have an interest risk, and the screen is very clear, visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, interest rate risk, and another one we have default risk, and next one is marketable risk, and we have callability risk. Okay, so one by one we'll see what is interest rate risk. So variability in the return, right? So we say debt instruments, right? Debt instruments, when it comes to a variability, right? It is caused by what are the changes with respect to a market interest rate. So we call that as the interest rate risk, because interest rate, it is not stable, it's subject to changes. Okay, so the changes in interest affect the bonds directly than the equity, and we can say there is a relationship between the coupon rate and the market interest rate. We can say that, see, if I say the market interest rate moves up and the price of the bond declines, or the price of the bond moves up and the market rate declines. If I say, if there is one, right, if there is one bond which has got a 14% bond interest rate on the bond, and the market interest rate falls from 14 to 13%, we would say that the interest rate is very high compared to the bond rate is very high compared to the market interest rate. On the other hand, if the market interest rate goes up by 15% but the bond rate remains the same 14%, we would say that the bond value has come down, right? See, what is the interest rate now? What is the interest rate in the market?
Nearly 7.5 or
It has come down. It has come down, right? Only the senior citizens have got certain percentage, certain that too in decimals, decimal percentage, and they are in the advantageous position. That too, when you come to an adult, male adult, and women, a different rate, and for a senior citizens is a different rate, right? But we all know that it is less now, right? And see, if then this is called the market interest rate, where subject to some problem in the economy, where government might increase the interest rate, or the government might make the interest rate to fall. Okay, so for example, if the when the bond, when you bought, right, the bond is some 8% interest rate, right, and the market is false. Suddenly there is a issue like pandemic, and where people are struggling a lot, and the government thinks that okay, we'll reduce the interest rate on all the investments, and immediately they reduce the interest rate. Okay, bond has got some advantage. On the other hand, if the interest rate in the market goes up by 11%, but your bond rate is only 7%, then you are at a loss, right? So this is called interest rate risk. Okay. The second one is the default risk. What is a default risk? If there is a failure to pay the agreed value of what in debt instrument that you bought issued by the issuer, maybe a full or on time or both, right? When you agreed to pay, but when you have failed to pay on a full amount, or during that period, or when you have not got any income from that bond which you have purchased, we call that as the default risk. So there is a treasury bills and bonds, right? These are issued by the central government, and there is a risk which is associated with this are less, because it is issued by the central government, and these are stipulated period are very less. And the same, you cannot think about certain bonds issued by the corporate bodies, right? So the corporate bodies always comes with a highest risk when it comes to a bond, right? So when you see treasury bills, and you talk about any bonds issued by the central government, or any other government bodies, when they issue the bonds, we know that our principal amount and the value, or definitely, even there is a particular period they are unable to pay, but definitely it will come to us. But when it when but government, when the corporate bodies, normally corporate bodies, they always keep a certain percentage higher than what is the government percentage, because you need to attract people to invest, to buy your bonds, right? If you keep the same interest rate as what the government is giving, people don't come to you. The reason, the government is also giving the same interest rate, and moreover the principal that you are going to pay for the bond, it is also safe, right? But when it comes to a corporate, the person who is going to buy the bond buying at a risk, because we do not know, the default risk could be higher when it comes to a corporate bodies. So we are taking a risk, right? So that is the case. When someone taking a risk, the corporate bodies, they have to give a little higher interest than what is given by the government, right? So the default risk, they always arise because of macroeconomic factors. So what could be the macroeconomic factors that could affect, maybe the inflation or war, or there is a policy declared by the government, or unemployment, or competition from other companies. So there could be, there are various reasons, the macroeconomic factors would predispose. See, this pandemic is a macroeconomic factors, right? Because of pandemic, government imposed a lockdown, and the lockdown made, all the companies to shut their doors, and actual work was not going on. So that actually made the overall system to suffer. So in the case of capital market, we can say uh, uh, bankruptcy sometimes happens in bankruptcy also. Those companies are not able to stay with their commitments, so the bankruptcy. So these are all we can say the default risk, right? Another one is the marketability risk. So variations in return, where there is a difficulties in selling the bonds, right? When there is a difficulties in selling the bonds quickly, where they have to make a substantial price, right? Substantial price, or they have to give a concession, then we know that it is a marketability risk. So the risk is, when we say the marketability risk, the marketability risk is different from the market risk, because it affects the securities in the market than a specific risk. Okay, so the marketability or the liquidity of a particular bond, we say that depends on the corporate entity that issues. We cannot generalize this. Market risk, we can generalize to the overall market based on the macroeconomic factors. But when we say marketability, it is related to a specific risk, and it is subjected to the corporate entity which issues that particular bond, right? So there is a possibility of a particular company's bond, they become illiquid, right? Illiquid because of downgrading of bonds rating by the rating agency, or there is a managerial inefficiency, or there is a fall in profit, because people had a fear in the minds of investors, and they are not willing to continue with the bonds, or something goes in the secondary market wrong. So there are various reasons that could be associated with the marketability risk, or the company is not doing good, right? The next one is callability risk. So callability risk is an uncertain, like where there is created in the investor's return, when the issuer ability to call the bond at any time. So some say you have invested now, your period is for 3 years, but the issuer says that I can't pay for till 3 years. You take your money and you give the bond, right? That is we call uncertainty. Due to uncertainty, if it is called off by the issuer, we call that as a callability risk. So the debt instruments are usually carry a call option. So what is call option? Call option provides the issuer the right to call back the instruments by redeeming them. So I give you back the principal amount, you will cancel the agreement, and you get back my bonds, right? That is called callability. So it is something like a call option. So the facility provides for the issuer if the market interest rate declines. Okay, and the issuer can call the bond, because issuer is the person who is going to pay the interest rate. When the issuer paid at 11 percentage, but the market interest fallen by 7 percentage, he is going to pay 4 percentage higher than the market. And that is the case, he is at a very disappointing place. So what if this guy would do? He will call off, he will pay the principal amount, and he will call off. Maybe he will repay the he will reissue the bond again, going through all the process, and he may issue at 7 percentage, right? So that is called callability risk. Very clear, guys? Any doubt in this risk? So bond, if you think, there are only 4 risks. One is interest rate risk, default risk, marketable risk, and call risk. Clear?
Yes,
Okay, any doubt? Shall we proceed further?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, the next one is time value concept. Okay, what is time value? What is time value of money? What is time value of money?
Appreciation of currency.
Pardon?
Year by year appreciation of the currency.
No, not clear, not clear, Surendra. You have to be little. There is some background noise.
Year by year, the value of the currency will decline based upon the market.
I don't know. If it's not clear, I'm unable to. Anyway, I'll tell you. See, what is the value of the money you have now in your hand, right? It is always good compared to the money that you are going to get in the future, because we know that the value of the money today is not the same tomorrow. 1 rupee today is 1 rupee, but tomorrow it will not be 1 rupee. It will be 90 paise, and again it will become 80. So as and then the days or the months or the years increases, the value of what you are holding 1 rupee now, the value decreases. So there is something called present value. What is present value? Present value is the value of the money current day. So what is the future value? So we calculate the time value of the money. So in the future period, we discount the value. What is discounting the value? Discounting the value is you actually cut off the value by taking the true time value of money. So today 1 rupee, after 5 years. So whether I can calculate for every year or I can calculate for the total 5 years, taking the annuity table on the value, right? So what is the value? See, how do we calculate the present value? 1 divided by 1 plus the interest rate, right? So we call that as the cutoff rate. So cutoff rate is at what cost you are going to take the money, right? So that is called the cutoff rate, or we call that as the interest rate. So we calculate the present value by considering 1 divided by, that is called discounting, right? 1 into 1 plus rate, if I put, I am making a compounding value. So present value discounting method, I take it. Actually, today is 1 rupee. After 5 years, what is the value? You take the annuity table. So 10% if I say, right? 10% if I say, what is the annuity value in the 5th year? I multiply them. So my 1 rupee may be around somewhere 40 paise. What is 1 rupee today? After 5 years, you take that 1 rupee, it would be 40 paise. So the value comes down. So if some company is giving you, see, you are purchasing a bond, right? 1 lakh bond you are purchasing, promising the interest rate at 10% for 5 years. So you do a compounding method, right? You do a compounding method and you find out the value. But when you do that present value by discounting method, you know that that is actual value you are going to get or not. Say straight line method, you just take a calculation, 1 lakh for 2 years, 10%, right? So first year you will get 10,000. Second year it will be 1 lakh 10,000. So your value of the money for the following year will be 11,000, right? So your total interest is 21,000. But when you take the time value of money, the 10,000, you have to discount it. So 10,000 will become 9,000 and 11,000 will become 8,000. So it is not 21,000 when you calculate the time value of money. The total amount will become 17,000. So where does the 4,000 go? 4,000 gone in the time value of money, because value of the money when you take after 2 years, it is not the same. So thinking 21,000 that you would be getting on 1 lakh of a 10% interest, right? It is not the same, because it will be only the value is 17,000. So you will think whether you will take the, you can consider the investment option or not. That is called time value concept. So the time value concept of the money, as I said, is that a rupee received today is more valuable than a rupee that received tomorrow. So investor, they will postpone current consumption only. So they'll postpone. Well, let me not use it. I'll just postpone for the particular period. So he buys certain bonds, thinking that he's going to get some value in the future period. So individuals generally they prefer current consumption than for the future consumptions. So say if there is a inflation in the economy, say rupee today, when you buy today, and the future time when you get the value. Say when I the last class also I told you about this inflation value, right? See, you are purchasing the bond at 8% interest rate, but the inflation at the time of maturity period, it is going to be 11%, right? So 3% loss. So already you waited for 2 years, and already the inflation is at 11%. So you are not making you are not making actual value, the value of the money. When you see, there is no actual return, right? So that is why whenever you discuss about the bonds, always consider the present value method, right? The time value concept. So interest is the rent paid to the owner to part with the money. So the interest that the borrower pays to a lender causes the money to have certain future value when it comes to a present value. So how do we calculate the future value? See, normally when it comes to interest bearing instruments, we quantify mathematically, taking the compounding or a discounting principles, right? So one period future time value of the money we consider, right? So normally if I'm going to buy a bond, right, I say it is the future value, right? How do I calculate the future value? Future value is equal to, we say, what is the present value, right? Present value, and I take 1 plus what is my interest rate, right? What is my interest rate, and what is the number of periods that I am going to take it. So number of periods, if it is 1, it will be 1 to the power of I would say, that is, it is to the power of 1, or whether it is for 2 years. So I calculate that way. Okay, so now we can do that with a one very simple example, right? Say for example, if rupees 100, right? So today I have rupees 100. So rupees 100 are put in a savings bank account, right? You just put in a savings bank account. Okay, savings bank account for 1 year, right? You're going to put that for 1 year. So we can calculate the future value. So here, what is the present value? Present value is 100 now. So what is the future value? Future value, what is the percentage of interest? Say for example, for 1 year, I can say at a percentage of 6% interest, at 6% interest rate. So I can calculate the future value. So 1, right? 1 plus you can say it is 0.06, right? It is for the period of 1. So I'll just consider it as 1, right? And when you calculate this, it will become 100 into, so 1.16, 1.06 to the power of 1. So we know the power of 1 is the same. So 100 into 0.106 is how much? We can say rupees 106, right? So rupees 106 is actually the total compounding value. If you just take the value, it is actually the value that you are taking. Your value is 106. So if you just take in the other condition, if the deposited money is allowed to accumulate for more than one time period, right? The period you can compound it. Say for example, I'm going to take that for 2 years. So if I said for 1 year, so I can calculate, if you are going to invest for 2 years, I can calculate this value for 2 years. Okay, so 2 years, if I calculate, this will become, one second. So this I just copy paste here. So this value will become 2 here. Okay, so now if you just think, the value will become 100 into 1.06 to the power of 2. Can you tell me, somebody, the answer? How the money will grow? How much the money will grow? So it will become 100. Guys, are you with your calci? 100 into 1.06 2 times, if you multiply, how much you will get the value? Are you with the calci, guys? You're with me?
Ma'am, 1.12.
1.12.
1.1236.
Okay. So this is 1.1236. Okay. So I'll take it to the next row. Okay. So this is this is equal to 112.36. Can I have like that? So it will be 112.36. So for 2 years, so if you invested, okay, if you have invested for 1 year, the value is 106. If you have invested for 2 years, so it is compounding method. So we must know that it is a future value of interest factor. Okay, I can say that it is interest factor, future value, or we can say it is FVIFA. What is FVIFA? It is called future value interest factor annuity. Annuity is 2 years we had this. So we just have to multiply. Sometimes, you know, this 1.1236, I'll just show you the annuity table here. You just have to multiply with the number of years. You have to just take the annuity table. 1 second. I'll just type the annuity table, 1 rupee annuity table. I'll just go to images. So this is annuity table. Okay, if I know for how many years, I can calculate from this very easily. So I said for 3 years, right? So 3 years, what is an interest rate? I said interest rate I said for 6%. So under 6% interest for 2 years you need to check. So this is 6%, right? So 6% 0.89. So you just have to multiply 0.89. 0.89 you need to multiply with 100. That's all. So this is how we do it. This is for 2 years. I said 6%. Okay, right? So on 2 years. So 1 plus, yes. So it's the same value what it is given here. So 100 rupees. Okay. ₹1. I think it is compound value ₹1. Once again, not an annuity table. Once again, compound value ₹1. I think we need to take. So compound value annuity table, because we are doing a compound value, right? So we need to take a compound value annuity table. So if you take a compound value annuity table, you are able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Once again, see, in this 6% for 2 years, it says 2.06. So you need to multiply this. Okay, we take the number of years. I told you number of years and the percentage of interest is this. So we need to do that way. You can multiply annuity table also. You can find out, multiply and do it. See, this is compounding value. Okay, compounding is I just plainly taken for number of years how much value that you would be getting, right? So this is called compounding. And there's something called present value. Present value, I told you, right? Today's ₹1 is not the same. Okay, so present value, when we are calculating the present value, there is a formula. It is not a compounding formula, you must understand. It is the it is actually, you have to divided, you have to divide, discount it. Okay, you have to divide it. Say for example, the future, how we calculate the present value. Okay, So present value we can calculate in two methods. When I say 10%, one second guys. Hello? Yes sir, சொல்லுங்க sir. Sorry guys, there's a call from college. Okay, so present value, when we are calculating the present value, we have to find out the cutoff value. So I'll tell you how we do a present value. Okay, formula I will give you exactly like how we do it, but when we are calculating the present value, I'll tell you how the value has come down. See, present value, how we calculate the present value. Present value will become 1 divided by 1 plus, because when we say compound value, we'll multiply, but when it comes to present value, we divide. Okay, we divide, so the value will become 1 plus, because I always teach students, guys, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
always
yes, ma'am.
teach students present value. See, this is the table we do for the present value. Okay, this is called present value table. Okay, I'll take the present value once again. It is loading.
Okay, ma'am.
See, that value even without a table. Normally, you must have studied your financial management, right? In financial management, when we do the capital budgeting and all, we usually identify the present value, right? See here, this is one present value table. Okay, this present value table, if you see, if I'm saying 10%, right? 10%. So first year, if I say first year, my income is 100 rupees, but see, 0 year means the cash outflow. That is 0 year means I have invested my money in some bond. Okay, so that time 100 is actually 100 only the value. We call that as 0. So the first year I'm getting 1 year interest. So I have to calculate end of the first year. So here it is given some values, right? If I'm giving 10% interest, see, I'll tell you. So this is a value how I calculate 1 plus interest rate. Okay, So this is how I calculate 1 plus interest rate to the power of 1, because every year I am going to calculate. See, I am telling you are invested 2010, you have invested some 100 rupees. Okay, so first year will be 2011. Okay, because for one full year you are waiting, and you are getting interest, right? So you get interest. So rupees 100 is the investment. Okay, so 100 is the investment. Present value is the value is 1 rupee, so it is 100 rupees, same. But when it comes to 2001, the value of 100 will not be 1. The present value will be different. How I calculate the present value? The present value will be 1 divided by 1 plus what is 1 plus what is the interest rate? 1.10. Okay, so it will become, to the power means it is 1 only. So 1 divided by 1.1 1.10. So what is 1 divided by 1.10? The value, the present value in 2011, that 1 rupee will be how much? 1 divided by 1.10.
0.90, ma'am.
0.909. Okay, in 2012. Okay, in 2012. Now in the second year, say I am going to hold for 3 years, right? 1 divided by 1 plus 0.10. So to the power of the second year, right? In the second year it will come 2. So the value will become 1 divided by 1.10 to the power of 2. So what will be the value now? What will be the value now here?
0.826, ma'am.
Correct. 0.826. See, this is without a table I am doing. Okay, without a table I am doing. So first 2 years, if you see, in the first year, okay, first year your investment 100 is equal to 1. It is 100 only. Okay, in the second year your value will become 100 into the value has become 0.1 rupee is not 1 rupee next year. 1 rupee will become 909. So what is your value? Your value has become 90.99. Okay, so on the third and the second year interest, it is again your value is not the same. Your value will become, the 1 rupee has become 1.826. Okay, so 826, if you take, your value is become 82.60, right? Like that, the value 100 rupee value year on year, the value will come down. It will become 90 rupees and it will become 82 rupees. Okay, this is how present value. Okay, these are the rates I calculated without the table. This I calculated without the table. But if you have a table, you just go here. If you see 10%, 1 year 0.909, second year 0.826, you got the same value or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this is with the table means directly you can take it. Without a table, you can actually find out. See here, maximum I have only 20% cutoff rate. In case if I have 40% cutoff rate, I cannot find that 40% in the table at all. In that is the case, only way how I can calculate is by means of this formula only. Now I tell you one sum, then we'll see how are we going to calculate. Okay, I am telling say discounting principle. So I am saying today's worth of rupees 100. So today's worth of rupees 100 to be received after a year at 10%. I'm saying at 10% interest. 10% interest would be. So they're asking after next year, that is after a year, what would be my interest? So the formula is, see, I told you this formula here, right? The formula here I told you. This is the formula I set for the future. The same thing I'm going to use it for the present. So this is the future, right? So if I want the present value, so present value means I have to just take this way. So this is the present value. So present value is equal to future value divided by 1 plus interest rate. Now, if I say present value is equal to, what is my future value? Future value is 100. That is, I have invested already, right? So divided, what is the value if you just take interest rate? Interest rate, I'm going to do 1 plus 0.10. Okay. So if I'm going to calculate the value, right? So 100 divided by 1.10 is equal to how much? Rupees 90.90. This is the same what I got here. So I multiplied 100 into what is the value, the present value 1 plus 1.0. So 90.90. You got or not? You got it right? So this is how we calculate. For multiple periods, what is the formula for multiple periods? So the formula for multiple periods will be, for multiple periods, what I do, I just put one T. So if I put T, the number of years, okay, I can take 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. So what is the value? Say for example, I'm telling you, I want this 100 rupees value for 3 years. Okay. So what will be my PV? My present value will be, my interest rate is 100. Okay. So my interest rate is 100. I'm going to calculate for 3 years. If I calculate for 3 years, so 1 plus 0.10. Guys, all of you able to follow me? To the power of 3.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to put the power of 3. So I'm going to calculate for 3 years. So if I calculate for 3 years, it will become 100 divided by 1.10 to the power of 3. So what is the value? So 100 into, what is the value if it is 3? 1.10 into 1.10 into 1.10.
1.331, ma'am.
1.331.
333.
So if you just multiply, wait. We have to take only this. So you have to tell me now. First put point 1 plus 0 point, only for the interest rate we have to do it. So 0.10 into 0.10 into 0.10, 3 times we have to put, otherwise the value will become drastically down. Okay. So 0.10 into 0.10 into 0.10 is equal to 0.001. Okay. Sorry, here it will become 1.
Divided by 1.
Yeah, it is divided by, yes, it is divided by. So 1 plus 0.001. So if you divide, now if you divide 100 divided by 1.001 will become 99.90. 99.90. This is how we do it. This is annuity. Okay, so this is actually present value interest factor, PVIF. Okay, this is how we calculate. So what you have to do, interest rate is this. Sorry.
Ma'am,
So
it is
1
like
plus interest rate. Yeah.
it is like how much should I invest today to get such amount in the future? It is like that, ma'am?
Yes, exactly. Present value. That is why present value we do. Because
Okay.
today's 100 rupees is 100 rupees, but tomorrow definitely it is not 100, it will be 90. At
Okay.
what is the cost you are buying? Sometimes, see, sometimes your interest rate will be at 20%. So 20% if you take 1 rupee, the 20% if you go, it is 0.833 only.
Okay, ma'am.
future value. Okay, so the value, the more the interest rate, the value will become lesser.
Okay,
Okay, so this is the present value. Now we'll look into bond return. Okay,
okay, ma'am.
we have to calculate on the bond return. So there are different ways that we calculate the bond return. See, what is bond return? Bond return is when an investor buys a bond and sells it after holding it for a while, the rate of return that he has been getting it for that holding period, right? That holding period is called holding period return, right? So here in the bond return, first thing what we need to calculate is holding period. You have been holding for 2 years, 3 years. So for if you are holding for such period, what will be your return? So that period is called holding period return. How we calculate the holding period return? So holding period return is calculated based on the price gain or loss during the holding period. Price gain or loss, okay, during the holding period, plus what is the coupon interest rate. In case if there is a coupon interest rate, what is the coupon interest rate, and the whole divided by price at the beginning of the holding period. So price at the beginning of the holding period. So this is what we calculate. The holding period return is also called one period rate of return. The holding period, the another name is called one period, because you have been holding it for that particular period, right? So it is called one period rate of return. Okay, so I will just do this with one example sum. Okay, now take down the sum. First case, I'm telling you there is an investor. So investor purchases a bond. So he's purchasing a bond at 900 rupees. Okay, he's purchasing a bond at 900 rupees as a coupon payment. Okay, so he has got as a coupon payment. So with the coupon payment, he bought 900 rupees and he sells it at 1000 rupees. And he sells at rupees 1000. Okay, and what is his holding period return? So what is his holding period return? So in the first scenario, so the price of gain or loss, right? So here he has got the holding period. See, with 100, sorry, he purchases a bond at rupees 900 as 900 with rupees 100 as a coupon payment. So he has got 100 as a coupon payment for 900. So when we think about this, actually the first case, an investor is purchasing a bond at 900 with a coupon, right? With a coupon payment 100. So in the sense, right, the value, if the coupon payment is 100, 100 he has got as a coupon rate. So he is selling at 1000 rupees. See, for example, the coupon rate here we are saying, right? So the 100 rupees coupon rate means he has got it as a discount. Okay, so for example, if the coupon, see, I'll tell you this. Actually, the coupon payment will say, the coupon payment will keep it. Okay, so 100 rupees is a coupon payment. Now it is a interest. Okay, just keep that an interest. So now he bought it, 900 rupees is the bond. Okay, he bought it at 900 rupees, and his interest on 900 rupees is the 100 rupees. So with a coupon rate of rupees 100. Okay, that keep that as that. So he sold at 1000 rupees. So the purchase price is 900. The selling price is 1000. So whether there is a price gain or loss?
Gain of 100 rupees.
Gain 100. Yes. So because the purchase price is 900, the selling price is 100, plus the coupon he has got 100, right? And what is the purchase price? The purchase price is 900, right? So we have to just divide that, and we should know, we should check whether yes, what is the return on the holding period. So if you just check, the return on the holding period would be 200 divided by 900. So how much is that holding period? He gets 0.222, right? So he has got some 22% in 22% return, right? So this is the holding period return. Okay, so 900 is the purchase price, 1000 is the selling price, so his gain is 100, and he purchased this bond with a coupon rate of 100, so the gain is 22%. I'm giving another scenario, right? Another scenario where I'm telling that if the bond, right, if the bond is sold at rupees 750, okay, I'm telling the bond is sold at 750 after receiving rupees 100 as coupon payment. After receiving rupees 100 as coupon payment, he received the coupon payment. Okay, coupon payment. What is the holding period return? Now you need to check. What is the holding period return? So here we need to calculate holding period return is equal to, I'm saying here 900 rupees is the purchase price, but the bond is sold at only 750 rupees. So here there is 150 rupees loss. Okay, plus, but however he got one coupon payment for 100 rupees. Okay, so the purchase price is 900. The purchase price is 900. So what would be the value? The value will be minus 50 divided by 900 is equal to minus 0.055. So which is he has lost 5.5%. So this is how we calculate. So what is the cost that he purchased for, and what is the point that he is selling for, and how much is the return that he has got? So this is how actually we calculate, right? So this is about the holding period return. And another one, like how we calculated the yield, right? If you remember the stock valuation, we calculated the yield. Similarly, for the bond also, we calculate the yield. So here the current yield. We are going to learn about the current yield technique, right? So what is current yield? What is yield? Can you tell me what is yield?
Maximum productivity.
Something that you have got additional, said that if you are holding for some time, that how much is the percentage of increase the market has complimented you with, right? That is called, we call it as yield. Okay. Okay, now when we are discussing about the current yield is the coupon payment. The coupon payment is, the coupon is what? The coupon is the interest rate. So that that investment, how much you got the interest return, right? That a coupon payment. So what is the coupon payment? So what is the percentage of coupon payment that you got with the current market price? That is called, we call it as current yield. So current yield formula is, current yield is equal to, so current yield is equal to annual coupon payment, whatever the coupon payment that you got, annual coupon payment divided by current market price. So this is called yield. I told you, right, sometimes the market price will be very less, but your interest rate is lesser than the market price, then we say the yield is, I haven't got any yield. So with this we can know that the rate of cash flow from their investments every year. Okay, so the current yield actually differs from coupon rate. Okay, since the market price they differs from the face value of the bond, right? So the coupon we see, I told you about the face value, right? Face value and market price, there is no relationship between that. Similarly, when it comes to a current yield, we do the same. See, when the bond face value and the market price are the same, we can say that the coupon rate and the current yield would be the same. For example, if the face value is 100 and the market price also you got 100, right? Or the face value is 10 or the market price is also 10, then we can say that the yield is the same as per with the market. Sometimes when the coupon payment is 8%, right, for 100% bond with the same market price, we can say the current yield is 100. Sorry, current yield is 8%. So when the interest rate is also 8% and the market interest rate also 8%, then we say the yield is 8%. On the other hand, if the market price is 80 rupees, then the current yield will become only 10%, right? Say for example, um, I'm telling that you have your coupon payment, right? Coupon payment, I'm telling coupon payment is 8%. Okay, I'm telling coupon payment is 8%, 8% for rupees 100 bond. Okay, and I say that the market price is also 8%. And the market price also 100. Say coupon payment is 8% for 100 and the market price is also the same price 100. Then what will happen? The market yield remains the same. That is, the current yield remains the same. See, market price is also 100. Then the yield. So 100 divided by coupon payment is 8 divided by 100. Then it becomes 8%. Yield will become 8%. On the other hand, the coupon payment is 100. Say I'm saying the coupon payment is 8 and the bond is 100 and the bond market price is 80. I say the bond value is high but the market value is low, then it will not be 80, it will become 8 divided by 8, right? 8 divided by 0 0.08 divided by it becomes 80, where you will have somewhere close to 10%. So the yield is, when the market price is less than the bond price, then the yield is higher. On the other hand, if the market price and the bond price are the same almost, then the yield is remains the same. Okay, this is called current yield, right? And the next one is yield to maturity. So what is yield to maturity? So if the concept of yield to maturity, when we say yield to maturity, in short term we call it as YTM. So what is YTM? It is one of the most widely tool used as far as the bond investment is concerned. So YTM is the single discount factor where it makes the present value of the future cash flow from a bond that is equal to a current price of the bond. We can tell this with an example of one sum, right? See, yield to maturity, they based on certain assumptions. So only based on certain assumptions we can do it with this. Okay, say for example, I'm saying if 11% coupon paying bond with 4 years to mature, say that is yield to maturity 13%, we can say that it is realized. 11% after 2 years, when we calculate the yield to maturity, we say that it is 13%, and two conditions. One, the bond is held till maturity. If I say 4 years, the bond has to be held for complete 4 years, and the interest received from the bond is reinvested in the all 4 years in the same bond. So that's how, if you say, the 11% would become 13%. If these two things are not there, then we cannot say that there is a yield to maturity. Say one another example, if you say the coupon receipts are reinvested, so 10% for the rest of the period, and then the realized rate of return will be less than the yield to maturity, right? Because if the reinvested should be at least 14%. If it is only 10% is invested, lesser than what actually the yield, then it will be less. Okay, so we can find out yield to maturity. There is one sum. I'll take okay. So here we calculate because the sum here. You can take the sum here, say a 4-year. I'm saying a 4-year. I don't know whether the bond, the font is bigger or lesser. Can you visualize the sum?
It's not that clear.
Can you visualize now?
No.
A 4-year. Now can you see the box?
Yeah, box.
The typing is not visible.
No, type. You haven't typed. Yes.
Now it is visible, right? Okay. See, there is a 4-year bond. A 4-year bond with with a 7%. Okay, with a 7% coupon rate. So coupon rate is the interest rate I told you. So there is a 4-year bond with a 7% coupon rate and the maturity value. And there is a maturity value of rupees 1000. 1000 is currently, so there is a market price. So currently selling at rupees 900. Sorry, 905. 905, currently selling at 905. We need to calculate what is its yield to maturity. What is its yield to maturity? We need to find out. Okay, so here if you remember the sum very clearly, a 4-year bond with a 7% coupon rate, maturity value is 1000 rupees. Currently it is selling at 905. What is its yield to maturity? Okay, now I need to calculate yield to maturity. We do not know what is actually the yield to maturity. There are two methods we calculate. One is trial and error method, where you think that okay, it is a 10% yield to maturity, 10% I keep, and then I'll find out whether it is closer to the selling price. Then we will know that it is 10% or not. Okay, and another method, there is a formula to calculate this. So first I teach you, and we have to do it with the present calculated method. In the sense present value method we need to take it. So I'm going to do a trial and error method. So this is called trial and error method. Trial and error method, you assume the yield to you assume the yield, and then you calculate exactly whether it is there or not. Trial error method. So here in trial error method I'm going to assume. Okay, so trial and error method, here I'm going to assume 10% as yield to maturity. Okay, I'm assuming that it is 10%, then I will get the current market price. So yield to maturity, I'm going to assume 10%. If it is closer to the current selling price, then I would know that that is my maturity. So what I do for that, I need to first understand the cash flow. Cash flow means what is your interest payment. Okay, so first year, what is my cash flow, and my present value at 10%, right? That is the cutoff rate. And second one is my PV, present value of cash flow. Okay, so here it is for 4 years, so I need to calculate for all 4 years. My system is slow. One second. What is it? Something is popping out. Once again, guys. Once again, please. Have you noted down the sum? Okay, now it is. Oh my God. Once again, guys, I'll just take another word. It's not going out. I'll just finish this sum once again. Otherwise, I'll take the paint. Okay, here. I'll just take the paint. Okay. So, you're also not responding.
Okay, ma'am.
I think it has come now. Yeah. It's come. Sometimes I count on WPS. WPS sometimes behaves like this. Oh my God. Okay, guys, gone. Right. So here, okay, good. So I'm going to calculate for the 4 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So here, all right. So what is the interest that we get for the first year? 7% coupon rate, and the value is 1000 rupees. So what is the cash value that I will have? Cash flow. What will be the interest rate that I will have? Maturity value is 1000. The coupon rate is 7%. So what is the interest rate that I will have? First year, how much income I will get?
Oh, 107.
107. How 107?
7%.
This is direct calculation of interest rate. 7% of 1000. 7% of 1000 is how much?
Sorry, 1,000.
1000, right? 7% of 1000 is how much? What is your interest value for 1 year?
1,700.
Hmm?
1,700.
No,
And 700 is
no, how 700? 7%, right? 70. 70% interest. 70 rupees is interest. For 1000 rupees, 7% is coupon rate, means your interest is how much? 1000 into 0.07. 70, yes. You get the interest 70. Okay. What is the second year? What is the second year? How much you will get for second year? Second year also you will get?
770.
70, again 70 only you will get. First year is 70, second year is 70, third year also 70, and fourth year is the maturity period, right? So fourth year you will get 1000 plus 70, right? So now I am going to calculate the PV factor. What I do, I already know the sum, right? PV at 10 percentages, I need to take the maturity period. So here this is 0.09 is there, no, 0.909. So first year 1 rupee for 10 percentages. No, sorry, it is 7 percentage. I have to take 7 percentage. No, trial and error, I am calculating 10 percentage, no. So if you see trial and error method, I am assuming that it is going to be 8 percentage, sorry, 10 percentage. Okay, I do not know the yield to maturity, so I am assuming the yield to maturity is 10 percentage. So here you take that 1%, 1 rupee time present value 1 rupee table, right? 10 percentage first year, the value of the money is 0.909. Second year 0.826, third year 0.751. If you remember your financial management class, then it is very easy. So here it is 0.909, 909, and next year is 0.826. You calculated, right? You need to tell 0.751, and the fourth year it is 0.683. Just check 0.683, 0.751. Now I need to multiply this. So what is the value I get? The interest value in the first year, I have to just multiply. So here it is, I need to multiply the column B9, right, into C9. So the value is 63.66, right? So here, though I get interest rate 70 rupees, but in the first year it is only 66.66, and second year it is 57.82, third year 52.57, fourth year maturity value I get 1000 plus the interest. So if you just add all these, what is the value I get? The value I get is 904.83. So it is 904.83. So which is almost close to the selling price. Yes or no? Have you got this money equal to the selling price? 904.8 is almost 9.905. Yes or no? Yeah, if it is not equal to 905 and the value is much lesser than that, then the yield we need to take higher interest, right? So this is trial and error till you get the selling price here. You have to keep trying different percentages. So now this is almost, this 10 percentage is equal to 905. So in this case, YTM is 10 percentage. We got it. Okay. But now every time I cannot do a trial and error method, right? Trial and error method is very tedious. So if that is the case, there is a formula I can use. So I use the formula. So how am I going to calculate the yield? Okay. So this formula, if you use directly, that will give you the value. Okay. So now what I do, I need to calculate. So first I have to put C. So what is C? C is the coupon rate. Okay. So coupon rate into premium. What is premium? Premium is when the maturity period is maturity period is lesser than the market price, right? Then we call it as premium. Or when the selling price is lesser, or see, we can tell discount and premium. Premium is when the market price is higher, right? And the maturity period is lesser. Selling price is very higher than the maturity, then we call it as premium. But when the selling price is lesser but the maturity period is higher, we call that as a discount. So it can be premium or it can be discount. So we have to mention that divided by years to maturity. How many years that you have to maturity? The whole divided by your price in the beginning. Okay, that is the present value. What is the current value you have? So the present value plus what is the face value. So your face value that divided by 2, right? So this is the formula we need to do it. So one by one we'll say. So first one is coupon. So what is the coupon rate? What is the coupon? Here we have 7%, right? So the as per the sum, 7% of 1000. So coupon rate is interest rate. So 7% of 1000 is 70. So this is coupon rate. But now I am going to check whether it is the premium or discount. How do we calculate? P or D? P or D is equal to premium or discount. So how do we find out? In the market price and the maturity period, right? So when the selling price is lesser than the maturity period, then we call it as it's a discount, because here it is 1000 is the maturity, but the market is only 905, which is 95% discount. In the sense my value is higher, so 95 rupees I am saved. 95 rupees is with me. If it is costlier, then I call it as premium, which will be higher rate. Okay, so 95 rupees, which is the discount. And then what is my P naught? P naught is the present value. What is P naught? P naught is the current value. Current value is the selling price. So your present value is the market price, or you can say it is a selling price. So the selling price is, what is the selling price? That is the present price. Please take down the value, take down the sum. The present price is 905, right? Hello? Wrong number. So 905, and what is the face value? Face value as of now, the maturity value is the face value. Okay, so here this sum 1000 rupees is the maturity value. So 7,000 on 1000, 7% on 1000. So face value is 1000. Okay, or we can say it is a maturity value. So years to maturity is 4. Now I am just going to do that all into sum. So 70 plus I have 95 rupees is my discount, divided by 4 is the number of years, the whole divided by current price is 905 plus your face value is 1000 divided by 2. So if we do that sum will be 70 plus what is 95 divided by 4? 23.75, correct? Am I right? Yeah. And 905 is 1905 divided by 2. So 1905 divided by 2 is how much? 952.5. Okay, so now if you just do this, it will be 93.75. Okay, 3.75 is equal to 952.5. So what is the answer? 93.75 divided by 952.5. So what is the answer?
Zero 0.09.
0.009. No, you just take 4 digits. When you do it, it becomes 9.8%. Okay, so approximately when we calculated yield to maturity in trial and error method, we assumed 10% and we calculated, right? So in this method, we gone by the formula and we got 9.8%. So this is more accurate than the trial and error method. Okay, so you understood this? Have you taken down the formula? Are you clear with this sum? Any doubt? Okay, another one, we are going to calculate the net present value. Here they will give the bond value, they will give you coupon rate, and they will give the maturity period. They will give you the expected yield. What will be your expected yield to maturity, and they will give you the current market price, and they will ask you whether the investor can buy it or not. Okay, so that's some we will do. So you can take down. So 100 rupees, 100 rupees par